Well, what a weekend of winter sport we've had, and Davos having to host two consecutive World Cups due to the snow conditions in the rest of Europe. Luckily, out of snow, as we saw in Ramsau, but somehow they managed to put a loop together. Davos with the 15k classic for skating for the men this morning. It's a 10 free for the women, and a very tight race in prospect, although you don't get any marks for predicting the winner will come from Norway, and it will be either Johaug or Bjørgen. Would you go along with that, Mike?
Well, they've been so utterly dominating, even the last couple of seasons, last 3 seasons. Yeah, you'd be maybe wrong to bet against that happening. But, well, the intensity that Johaug has been giving lately, can she keep that form going, or can even Bjørgen keep that form going? And a slight advantage, I think, Patrick, today for some of the earlier starters. We might see some surprises because of the slightly more icy conditions for groups 1 and 2. Yeah,
I agree. I think that was definitely the case in the men's race, with Glorison coming through firm conditions. Okay, it wasn't hard packed, but there hadn't been so many skiing on it, and it generally the uphill sections and the sharper corners where you lose time later on if it's soft. Norway, well, they've been dominating. Had a look at the World Cup standings. They've got 6 out of the top 8 in the women's. They've got 6 out of the top 8 in the men's. And believe it or not, the winner of today's race isn't even in the top 8 of the World Cup standings. That's how strong the Norwegians are. Total domination. Everyone says things go in cycles. I think the cycles got stuck with Norway at the top.
Well, as the early starters are out on the track, it's interesting, isn't it? Looking back, the first World Cup was held here 30 years ago in Davos. It was a 30-kilometre for the men, a 10-kilometre for the women, and it was all about Norway then as well. In the men's, they took the top 4 results in the women's. It was Berit Aunli and Grete Nikomo who took those races. I think a bit of history, Patrick. We were there for that first World Cup.
Well, it's a good thing the results. It's a good thing the results only go down to number 20. Otherwise, we'd find out just how far we were behind the best in those days. Things have improved somewhat with Andy Musgrave on the tour, doing very well. Not such a good day this morning. Maybe the altitude of Davos not suiting him. He was absolutely sensational up in Lillehammer, a 13th place, best ever British result. Let's hope that he can build on that as the season goes on. He's got to race clever, he's got to train clever, and he's got to pick and choose his races. Or do you think you just do everything going?
I think you pick and choose. You play to your strengths, you train your weaknesses, and then you race to your strengths. If you can, you've got to keep your nation standings going as well. But certainly, I believe we're going to see stronger and stronger from Muzzy as the years go by.
Well, this isn't a bad run from the veteran Claudia Neustadt. She's doing very well. She's had 4 wins in her career, the last of which, though, came back in 2009 at the end of the season in Falun, and her best period of racing, if you have a look at the statistics, came from 2004-2008, so we're 6 years past the best. Nicole Fessel, another top-class German athlete. They're actually doing better in the women's now than they are in the men's.
They are, and it's an aging team. You've got Hermann at 25, Nystad coming up 37. Fessel, we've just seen, she's nearly 32, and Böhler, the 4th one in the running here, 33-year-old. So it's an aging team.
Yeah, and Fessel, who's podiumed in the freestyle events, 3 podiums, all coming from either freestyle or the skiathlon, as it's now known, the combination of classic freestyle, which generally suits the freestyle skiers. Recognise her? I think you must. Marit Bjørgen, the queen of cross country, the out-and-out #1. Can anyone touch her today? We'll see. She has been beaten in freestyle this year, and Therese Johaug could be the one to do it again. Number 27, Ragnhild Haga for Norway, 23-year-old, the next generation of Norwegians. I guess success breeds success, doesn't it, Mike? But try and explain to me why they're dominating so much. We've just seen them win the Nordic combined down in Ramsau under the Dachstein Glacier. They won the biathlon this morning with Emil Hegler Svensson. They're dominating the cross country. What is it they do that no one else does?
I think it's partly cultural. It's so deep in society that everybody gets out there on their skis. Most Norwegians have a cabin out in the wild, so they all ski. And it's cultural that they get out there. Clubs are the social hub, and in a very dark country you need something to aim for and some social gatherings, and that's where they get it from the cross-country clubs. So who will the sponsors put on the back of the cornflakes packet in the morning? Will it be the best skier, will it be Northug, or will it be their top footballer? Probably Northug. Well, it is, yeah, they get their faces everywhere. They are the main and best known athletes in the country. Marit Bjørgen
the out-and-out star over the last few years, although I think on a popularity thing, I think Johaug is getting up there, or if not overtaken Bjørgen, simply because the way she races. Now, let's focus on the Finns. They've got a much stronger squad. Anne Kaloinen just setting off. She's certainly got a chance of doing something today. A top 5 would be brilliant for Kaloinen. I guess everyone's racing for the minor places, aren't they, with Bjørgen and Johaug around at the moment?
You would think so. Kaloinen, more a classic specialist, I would say. She's good in the freestyle, but certainly better in classic technique.
Well, I like this method of sending the seeds. The seeds, as I'm sure you've realised in cross-country, go last, but they split them. So you have the strongest seed, then a weaker one, then a strong one with the rest of the field. So they're not starting 30 seconds apart. That takes away the advantage that the later starter has, because they don't have a visual on their nearest competition.
Yeah, I think when you look at the races as well, but if you're the favourite to win, or if you're the best in the world ranking like Bjørgen today, if you can stick with the athlete ahead of you, because you know you're so close in terms of standard. Surely it's got to be easier her getting split times off Therese Johaug and anchor yourself there. So I think it is an advantage, the best going last. It's an advantage to them.
So it pays to win, it pays to be at the top of the rankings. Would you rather see a system where the top 30 go in the last 30 and they draw for position?
I think it makes it more exciting this way. It might be slightly more fair to do a draw of the top 30.
Yeah, the climax is great in this circumstance. Here we go with Switzerland's Siebenthal just starting, and of course Dario Colonia is the #1 cross-country star. The Swiss don't have that sort of standard in the women's team at the moment. 23 going through, Emma Vicken. Now, she's set a really good pace so far. She's not going to match Sukova, but she's not far outside. Just some 20 metres to go before the clock will stop, and Emma Vicken could be really good. She was 18th last weekend in the 10-kilometre classic. She's lying 13th at the moment. Comes from Falun, so the World Championships this year on her home snow, and I wonder how much of an advantage that is, because the hill, the killer hill as they call it, doesn't get any easier when you know it. Mörderbacken, that's it.
And Vicken, very good. I mean, you look at her results at the majors. She came 8th in the 30-kilometre freestyle at the Olympics. She's good.
23, Martine Hagen. This is Fessel, as you can see, 13th in the 5 freestyle up at Lillehammer, and only 37 seconds off the pace, so she's only got to improve some 1.5%, and she's right up with the top 5. 1.1 inside. Good start from Fessel. Welcome back to Davos. Just in time to see Marit Bjørgen prepare for her race. Still a couple of starters to go before she's underway. This is Kerttu Niskanen, as you can see, 2-time Olympic silver medalist, and she's a real talent, Niskanen. 3rd in the 10K Classic last weekend, so she's on form. We'll see how she gets on. Familiar suit, Jessica Diggins, popular athlete, Diggins, Mike, because of the work rate. She's the sort of American Johaug, isn't she? But without quite the same engine.
Well, when she's on form, she really is on fire, and so strong. I think that's that using the skate 2 technique up here, it shows her strength. Incredibly steep hill, and a lot of climbing from the stadium up to this high point.
Yeah, but I think she was in the wrong gear there. If you can't get your arms to go back in a straight line, there's too much resistance on the arms. The arms aren't strong enough for that. You can always see that the arm snakes its way back as you try and put the pressure on the pole. But she's a determined athlete, and we'll try and track Diggins all the way around this 10-kilometre freestyle. Number 51. We're getting towards the end of the start sheet. Is she the heir apparent in the Norwegian team? Heidi Weng. Well, she's already had a very, very successful career. 13 podiums, but she has yet to win a World Cup. Now, there aren't many who've got more than 13 podiums without winning. Surely Heidi Weng, her time is going to come.
It has to. I mean, I felt that she was maybe raced too much last year. She dropped off form at a young athlete pushing in so many races. That can happen, but she seems to be the mature, the complete athlete this year, Weng. And I think this course suits her with all the horrific, you can see the climbing, especially in the first 2.5 from the stadium. Then it's easy back into the stadium, but I think it suits Weng.
Neustadt coming up towards the 7.8. It's a pretty steep climb. She's making it look easy, but this would stop a lot of tour skiers in their tracks. You even see some occasionally walking up alongside the track with the skis in their hands. It is that steep. 15 seconds inside for the German, ahead of Stefan. And actually, Stefan's had a good run, Elisabeth Stefan. Here comes Therese Johaug just getting underway, and as you come to expect, she goes out absolutely flat out. That will last for what, 10-15 seconds for most people. Johaug takes it a little bit further. How is she going to get on today?
Well, you know, she's worked so much in her sprint training, which worked up in Norway. It absolutely does work and has lifted her whole game. But I'm wondering how she didn't look so good in the sprint here. I'm wondering how the altitude, or if it is having an effect on her, because she was on fire in Lillehammer, but she looked off form in the sprint run out here.
Yeah, interesting. Johaug leading the distance World Cup standings. She's second by a substantial margin to Bjørgen in the overall. Østberg, the only winner other than Bjørgen and Johaug so far this season. And here is Marit Bjørgen, the top of the world, the last to start, 6-time Olympic champion, 4 of those individual races, 82 World Cup victories. She's going for 83. Now, a lot of people say she's won more than 82 times. If you add in all the stage races, she's way over 100. But the way things are, and all the races in Kuusamo count for 1 World Cup win, all the races in Lillehammer counted for 1 World Cup win. I think, Mike, we'd have a much clearer picture of how good she was if all the stage races counted as World Cup wins.
I think it's a little unfair. It's a race against the best of the rest in the world on that given day at that given time, and she wins, even though it's a stage, a 3-day stage event. I see it as a victory on that given day.
I agree, and so what if they only get 50 points as opposed to 100 for winning? I still think it should count as a victory.
Give them 50, call it a victory. Well, Kalla, I think, Patrick, it's good. She's pacing just fine over this first part. She'll be wanting to be at her best on the 18th of February, 19th of February.
Kalla from Sundsvall in Sweden. I think Kalla's best ever race. I know she took the gold individual in Vancouver, but for me, the outstanding race in her career was that relay in Sochi, where she took some 30 seconds off the leaders on that final leg to take the gold for Sweden. A sensational run, and I think that just showed what she's made of and how much she will fight for the team as opposed to herself.
That was one of the most amazing pieces of racing I've ever seen, certainly in the last 30-odd years. Bonner, we saw Bonner, she lives here, the Swiss, the favourite for the Swiss today, but unlike 30 years ago when Evie Kratzer was on the podium here, I don't think we're going to see a Swiss podium.
Number 7, this is Elisabeth Steven from Montpellier in Vermont, just coming down the right, on the right-hand side of your picture, and that's a good run. She takes top spot, and she's really picked the pace up over the closing stages. Top 20 in the 10-kilometre Classic a week ago, and in fact she was 20th here in the Classic last year, so a Classic form is still there. I think she senses that is a really good run. I know she only started 7th, but her splits up on the course are still good. Heidi Weng.
I just love the way her freestyle is bringing that supporting leg or the free leg right up and underneath her into the hill, and the aggression as well. Tempo is great, light body weight for this steep climbing course, and we're just past this camera point. The highest point on the course is at 1,640 meters. It really is at altitude in terms of endurance racing.
You won't see many of the top skiers just placing the ski gently on the snow. There's always some forward movement of the boot as the ski goes down, and some of them look as though they're stamping the ski into the snow, just trying to accelerate. There's a good example, number 27, that of course Ragnhild Haga, just behind Therese Johaug. Absolutely astonishing, isn't it, Mike, how you can keep this going? It reminds me of Murillo Dussault. His tempo was about twice anybody else's. But if you train it, is it fair to say if you train at that tempo, the racing isn't too bad?
I think so, and the coaches have tried to change her from a young age to make her glide more efficiently. She has done that in the Classic just this summer, worked on it. But that work rate, that incredibly light body weight and super strength that she has, Still not convinced she's as strong as she was in Lillehammer, where she destroyed the field by, what, 43 seconds over 5 kilometres.
Neverskaya of Russia losing 30 seconds to Johaug at the moment. Number 50 trying to get through is Fabre-Pisson of France. And not a bad start number for her. She finds herself behind Nicole Fessel. Those two could work together. Fessel with a lead of 13 seconds at 7.8. Now, if she can extend that to, what, 16, 17 seconds, she could find herself on the podium today.
Well, that would be a huge surprise, but she's certainly looking brilliant. But surely this woman can destroy everybody if Johaug doesn't.
Marit Bjørgen still 15 seconds inside, the fastest so far. Here she comes, 10 seconds to go, 15 meters or so to cover that distance. And I think we have a new leader. Marit Bjørgen of Norway, is she inside? Not by much, she is, but only by 0.8 of a second. And guess who is second? Therese Johaug.
But isn't it amazing? Bjørgen is getting the split time. She started 1 minute behind Johaug, and it's, if you can keep that pain, that punishment, surely the psychology for Bjørgen, it is certainly a bonus.
Okay, well, what about the top 5 in the World Cup standings drawing and going in different orders each time the race? That would certainly make it a little bit fairer as the season goes on. I don't know what our viewers think. I guess do get hold of us. We use the biathlon email address that we have, biathlon.eurosport@yahoo.co, or yahoo.com, I think, is working better than co.uk. So biathlon.eurosport@yahoo.com, and let us know what you think about the starting order in these races. I'm a big fan of having the best going last, because it does mean the race is a climax. Number 12 coming across, that was Kubinska, and Neustadt just finishing for Germany, 22 seconds inside. Now remember, she was some 15 seconds inside going over the top of the course, so a really good run. The Germans seem to be coming to form.
I think that's an amazing performance from Neustadt. She had a poor start number in Norway and she came through strong. Her number is better today. I think she was start number 1 up in Norway, so her ranking has improved, and that was a very, very good performance.
Are the Germans finally going to topple the Norwegians? I must say it's difficult to look past Bjørgen. She's the Olympic 30-kilometre free champion, or 15-kilometre free champion. She's the champion from here last year over the slightly longer distance of 15k than they're racing today. And of course, she's leading the overall World Cup. But Germany have started well. Heidi Weng down in 15th, a little bit of a surprise, but it is only 2 kilometres, and there are some stiff hills here in Davos. If you haven't saved some energy for the final stages, you will lose a lot of time.
Fessel is still attacking. She's got that spark, that magic today. She's normally a little labouring in her technique, but she clearly knows that this is a cracking performance. Even for an early starter, she's getting the split times further back.
Well, Fessel, 10 seconds off the pace at 2 kilometres. Going through 5 kilometres, she's ahead of everyone else, but Marit Bjørgen yet to get to that stage. So her splits will all have been positive today, and I think that's part of the reason we're seeing her attack this. Takes the final corner nicely. Now the last 50 metres. Fessel can save fractions of a second, but who knows, they might make all the difference. And she records a new fastest time. Germany go 1 and 2. Fessel ahead of Neustadt, and a decent margin. That is good work from Fessel.
Fessel, junior world champion 11 years ago in Sollefteå when the World Championships went up to the north of Sweden.
Novakova of the Czech Republic, number 38, skiing very nicely.
I think those 2 very early starters, I think they're aware that they've done something special today, both of them.
Well, I also think they'll be aware that the conditions likely to be better at the start of the race, as you said earlier on, and it's not often you get that sort of an advantage over Marit Bjørgen, so you might as well really go for it. She's attacked it. The fact that she's got a very fast time at the first 2k says she went out positively. This is Anna Haag coming up towards 7.8, and Fessel's time of 18:39 will not be bettered, and in fact she's going to be lucky to be within 40 seconds of it. She's not. Charlotte Kalla still to come through for those of you supporting the Swedes. She started number 47. 27 though is Ragnhild Haga, a youngster in the Norwegian team, and just 15 seconds outside. Pushes Neustadt down into third, and the Norwegians showing that even if Bjørgen and Johaug take a day off, they have plenty of talent to replace them. Welcome back to Davos. We're still on the women's 10-kilometre freestyle, and Fessel of Germany has set the leading time. Let's see if, in fact, we already know Charlotte Kalla can't match it, and she's got a long, long way to go before she goes past the split gun. And so still a little while to go, I guess, before we're going to see the medal-winning form from Charlotte Kalla. All the Swedes, Mike, I suspect, are not interested in this first stage of the season.
No, they are interested, I think, of course, but their form, they know, should be and will be at its best in February. So I suppose they are caring a little less when, once in 15 years, 20 years that the world champs go to their home location, they want to savour it and get the best results then.
Srina Bonner going through, only 23 seconds outside. That's a really good time from her, and I guess an advantage of living up at this sort of altitude, Mike, is it makes this sort of racing seem a whole lot easier. And again, stressing that 1,600 metres doesn't sound like altitude, and a mountaineer would laugh at you, but when you're trying to race at 100% of capacity, it does make a massive difference.
It really is hard to emphasise how much difference it makes, and especially with the terrain that you're climbing here. It's a lot of climbing, 364 metres during this 10-kilometre race. Demand for oxygen is massive. That's a good result from Bonner, which we saw earlier. And Niskanen, the Finn's going well, actually. And Roppanen started well. Parmakoski's going well.
That was Julia Tikhanova going through. Is she a relation of Tikhonov, who's involved in the biathlon scene?
I don't know. We'll have to check that one out. Possibly is. She was the junior world champion.
Heidi Weng, well, she's a little closer to the race leader, but still outside. And Nicole Fessel, sitting down in the finish area, can see the big screen, and she can see that all these big names are failing to match her time. She'll be getting more and more excited, but she won't go over the top until she sees the next 4 athletes through. Only 4 to go, and so at the moment she's guaranteed a finish in the top 5. Or not guaranteed, but highly likely to finish in the top 5. I can't see Neverskaya matching her. I can't see Rita-Lisa Roppanen at the moment matching her. So it looks as though it could well be a podium finish for Fessel at the very worst. And who knows, she might even come through to win this one. Now this is Johaug, and Johaug not looking... That was not Johaug at all. She was... I wonder whether she's had a fall.
That was quite strange. I thought she killed her speed before that corner. Maybe she didn't want to lose any pace on the exit from the corner, but it didn't seem an aggressive attacking Johaug coming around that technical section.
Well, she's outside Fessel's time as well, so it's getting better and better for Germany. And at this stage of the race, with only 2.2 kilometres to go, a lot of which is downhill, Johaug's in trouble. 8.6 outside, and that battery seems to finally have run out of juice. What about Marit Bjørgen? Oh, the time is a different story. 40 seconds inside at the moment. She's got another 50 metres to go before the clock stops. The margin is going to be 15 seconds minimum, probably closer to 20.
There's absolute strength, continual strength. She was in form in Lillehammer, she's in form wherever she goes.
Look at that, 22.5. There's no stopping Marit Bjørgen. I think this one in the bag. She can take it safe and steady on the way back down to the stadium. There's a little climb around the stadium area, but that won't trouble Marit Bjørgen. And it looks as though it's going to be World Cup win number 83 if she does come through to claim this one.
Well, I make it she's 29 seconds at this checkpoint ahead of Johaug. And, well, Johaug's going to lose a lot of points in the overall rating or ranking.
Yeah, I wonder how high that is on Marit Bjørgen's priority, having lost the overall title to Therese Johaug last year. There's Fessel, and sitting second at that 7.8 kilometre stage. I think a podium finish is almost certain, but I can't see Marit Bjørgen throwing away 22.
No, I can't, unless she falls, and there are some technical sections. But if Vessel is there in second place, that is outstanding and her best performance ever. She has had a team team sprint second position, and of course the Olympic Games in Sochi, they took bronze, the German team. She's had medals, but this was the best individual if she stays in second. That is a good performance from Parmakoski.
Comes from Luhalahti in Finland. Vessel can't, I don't think she can quite believe what's going on.
Isn't that great? She's coming up 32-year-old and having the best skiing day of her life.
22 seconds outside at 7.8. Bjørgen, Vessel, Weng, Johaug. So we still have 4 Norwegians in the top 5. They are still dominating, but this time it's Vessel's turn to break them up. Østberg, who won the sprint here last week, down in 12:48.5, ahead of Ingmar's daughter, and Elizabeth Steffen of USA, best of the Americans today, and in a very strong position. Østberg, well, she's going to have to put on a major sprint if she wants to go up into stay in the top 5.
Well, she's very, very tense coming into approaching this bend, but she was just playing careful. She knows how good she's performing, doesn't want to fall.
Beaten by Hermann, beaten by a number of the Germans, and Østberg, who is a specialist sprinter really, in 12th position. I think as her career goes on, she'll get better and better at the distance. And I'm a big advocate of do the sprinting when you're young, develop the strength, develop the technique that you need for sprinting, and then it carries through. Look at Marit Bjørgen. She was a sprint specialist initially. She dominated that, and then slowly but surely started to dominate the distance races as well.
And I suppose it gives confidence, builds confidence. You need to be strong to be a sprinter.
Jaskowitz against Charlotte Kalla. Charlotte Kalla should win this little sprint for the line, but Kalla's only taken 30 seconds out of the pole, which means that the pole's going well and Charlotte Kalla isn't going quite as well as normal. Great finish to the line. It will have certainly given them an extra half a second or so, and Charlotte Kalla into 4th ahead of Parmakoski. Had she not had the company of Jaskowitz, she may well have dropped down into 5th position. Saraina Bonner is going to be the next in. Here she comes in the black of the Swiss ski team.
Home advantage, this is where she lives, knows these tracks better than anybody.
Skis for SC Cloisters. I thought that was just an Alpine team, but evidently not. Needs to keep the tempo coming into the finish. Top 10 would be brilliant. 43, she's going to be just outside that, misses out by a fraction into 11th, but she should stay top 15 or 16. Shake of the head, I'm not sure what that means.
Well, I thought
what do you think she can have done wrong?
I think she might have fallen further back where we didn't see, but it's a great performance, I think, from Bonner.
Kerttu Niskanen now. Already 35 seconds outside, and you can see how tight the order is as the names change on that leaderboard. Steffen on 40 survives in the top 10. Hermann pushed down into 11th, and Niskanen of Finland going into 10th for now. I think we're going to see a few more changes the way this race is going. And Parmakoski, the best of the Finns. In fact, Ropinen coming in fairly soon. Well, 51, that of course is Heidi Weng. What can she do? Second place, pushes Haga down. 6.8, only 6.8 behind. Now, if I'm right, Mike, Weng has done incredibly well on the descent, because at 7.8 kilometres, she was some 7 seconds outside Vessel.
Well, I think we have to say that entry into the stadium, she took it so much better than her teammate Østberg. She had a whole lot of speed coming around that final right-hander to carry her into the home straight, one of the best. This must be feeling like an amazing day for Vessel, that she's still in the seat with Weng, Østberg, big names, highly ranked athletes crossing the line.
Yeah, it's not often that you get to sit for 20 minutes in the leader's seat.
Good job it's warm weather.
And when Bjørgen wins, she doesn't even get to take her place. Here we go with Johaug, and her chance of a win has gone. And how far outside is she going to be? Because the positions, as we mentioned, so tight. Johaug trying to beat Claudia Neustadt, who came in in 25.36. I think she's going to miss it. She will. And Johaug going into 5th for now. And we have 2 women still out on the tracks. Ropenen of Finland, Marit Bjørgen of Norway, and Marit Bjørgen cruising round the final corner. Oh my goodness, she's miles ahead. Brilliant skiing from Marit Bjørgen. She was 22.5 ahead at the top of the hill. She's lost a few seconds, but she knew she had it in the bag. And she takes yet another win. That's what, the 83rd World Cup win. It's her 5th victory of the season, but 2 of those are stage wins, so they don't count as World Cups. There's no stopping her, Mike.
She's just an amazing athlete. She has been from the day that she graced the World Cup scene, and she hasn't lost motivation, which is incredible. And what about Fessel? She has stayed. Well, Ropenen's still to come in, but I think she's safe. There's Ropenen. She's safe in 2nd.
Was it this time last year that Marit Bjørgen had that little heart scare? I think it was.
Was it 2 years ago?
Or was it 2 years ago? Time flies. Time flies. But I'm glad to see there's no repeat of that. There you go. New set of pair of skis. New pair of poles. Number 51, Heidi Weng. Weng has got herself on the podium as well. So once again, 2 Norwegians in the top 3. They've got 3 in the top 4 actually, with Haga going so well. And there's the big surprise of the day. Nicole Fessel comes from Oberstdorf, where the World Championships have been a number of times, has finished 2nd. Brilliant. But Marit Bjørgen still dominant, 20 seconds clear of her nearest rival. Johaug losing ground in the World Cup standings, finishing down in 6th. Ropenen, I think, will be happy with that as the best of the Finns. Further down, we mentioned Stephen of USA finishing 12. And what else? Anything else stand out there? Novakova, Mike, of the Czech Republic.
I think, yes,
top 20.
Very strong season and a great performance from her. Jessie Diggins, 27. She'll be okay with that, I think.